Well, it doesn't matter what the academy is. I think if you get your members to an academy, that's where they really say, wow, there's a lot to learn. These are great people. For me personally, coming to an ALEC Academy or coming to an annual meeting, for me, I'm from Rhode Island, remember. It's great to be around normies for a few days.
Welcome to the ALEC 2026 annual meeting in Orlando, Florida. I'm with Rhode Island legislator Jon Brien. Welcome, and you have a couple of issues you've been working on with ALEC. First, let's get into your being chair of the Process and Procedures and Redistricting Reform.
Yeah.
What's going on in the various states, and what are some of your proposals?
Well, as the chair of, it was new last year, Process and Procedures Task Force, and we've been dealing with mostly election integrity issues, and we've been very active, and our members have been great in that task force, so we've been very busy since the beginning. And now, rather than just dealing with election integrity issues, we've branched off into redistricting issues and drawing lines that are fair and equitable. You know, there was a Supreme Court decision that said, you know, race-based lines are no longer the case. And I think that's the way it should have been all along. I think that, you know, it should be based on population, and this crazy gerrymandering that's happened, certainly it's good to see that go. So now that we've branched off into that, I think we're starting a monthly conference call that's going to be all about redistricting, which is going to be really great. And people are really getting engaged on the redistricting front. I mean, if you look at what happened in Virginia, that was, you know, an abomination. They actually took a situation that was even, that was, or close to, that represented the populace and the electorate, and turned it into something that was meant to be purely political and race-based. So I think that's a real problem. So I fully support that Supreme Court decision. You saw what happened in Indiana, there's Texas, there's California. And I think this race to try to win and gain power by any means necessary really is a poisonous to the political climate that we're experiencing here in the United States at this time. So I think that as state legislators get involved in redistricting and know what they cannot do, best practices, and what will be best for their state, and what will be constitutional for their state, of course. I think that's definitely a direction that we want to set up our state legislators for success in that area, should they want to venture into that in their own states with their own, you know, state legislature lines. You know, again, redistricting should never be political. It should be population-based, and you are who you are, and that's what your state should reflect.
Well, and what it does for most of the voters, it just turns you off. You don't even recognize the person on the ballot that you used to vote for if they're redistricted out. Are you seeing in some of this redistricting less of a voter turnout, less of an interest in democracy?
What I see right now, it's funny, we spoke this morning at the state chairs meeting. Scott Rasmussen, he addressed us and he said, you know, America is really a 10-10-80 nation, and that is, you've got the 10% on the left that are as dug in as could be, the 10% on the right that are as dug as that could be, and then you've got the 80% of people who really are just trying to live their lives, and they're not in that political bubble, you know. So I think right now, unfortunately, in my lifetime, this is about as bad of a political climate as I've ever seen in my life. It really has become Hatfields and McCoys, win at all costs, and I think that's really the problem. I think that's what's turning people off. There's one set of people that feel so energized to go vote because they think they can turn the United States into a socialist country, and then there's another group of people that want to protect it, and then there's a bunch of people that just want to go to work and play catch with their kids on the weekends, you know. And so it's easy to get wrapped up in this bubble of politics and policy and all this that we experience here at annual meeting. But it's really, you gotta use this and then employ it back at home in your districts. And just, as I like to say, you gotta talk to the folks. You gotta get with the folks where they're at, and you gotta talk to them on their level. So I'm the type of person that I can speak here at ALEC at a state chairs meeting or in my task force, but I could go to my local VFW and sit at the bar with the guys that are there all the time, and we could talk about anything. And that's where you find out what's really going on when you go in those arenas.
They just want fairness, correct?
Yeah, that's all. That's what they're
draw the lines up that makes sense, and they don't wiggle all around the state. Tell me about the Kansas City Academy that you recently.
That was wonderful. That was our first Process and Procedures Academy that happened in Kansas City, and with my co-chair, my public sector, I'm sorry, my private sector chair, Jason Sneed from the Honest Elections Project, we had a couple days of some of the most informative and some of the most really intelligent people that addressed us about election reform, election integrity, security. We learned about the administrative state. We learned about, we had a great redistricting forum. And here's what I have to say about ALEC academies. If you think you're a smart person, you go to an ALEC Academy and you realize most of the people that are talking to you have forgotten more about the topic they're talking on than you can ever possibly know. I think that I'm smart, you know, when I'm back at home, but when I come here, I realize I really know very little. So I come to these ALEC events, I learn, I listen, and I think that it's just so valuable for myself and even as the chair of the task force to continue to learn and to bring in people that can really make a difference in the task forces, and you do that by engaging your members by these academies. Well, it doesn't matter what the academy is. I think if you get your members to an academy, that's where they really say, "Wow, there's a lot to learn. These are great people." For me personally, coming to an ALEC Academy, coming to an annual meeting, for me, I'm from Rhode Island, remember. It's great to be around normies for a few days.
Listen, I give you high grades on IQ from having been a Democrat.
Yeah, well.
And now you're the lone independent in Rhode Island.
The leader of the independent caucus.
You got smarter, didn't you?
Yeah, well, what happened was I was a conservative Democrat, and there was a great purge years ago, more than a decade ago, of people like me. I was the proud winner of the Democrat in Name Only Award 3 years in a row. But then there was a great purge. I was involuntarily retired in a primary. I stayed out of the legislature for over a decade, and I went back. And I said I never would go back. So never say never. But then when I saw the people that were running in my district, my thought was, well, I got to live here too. And I had disaffiliated 10 years prior. So I said, look, I am who I am. I'm running as an independent. People know who I am, accept me or not. If I win, fantastic. And if I don't, I'll keep doing what I've been doing.
Right.
And I won. And after the election, I remember I looked at my wife, and it was kind of that Robert Redford moment from the movie The Candidate. It was kind of like, what do we do now?
Right.
Like, now I have to go do this job. So, and it's been great. And so I am the lone independent in the House of Representatives, 64 Dems, 10 Republicans, 1 independent. But yeah, sometimes the caucus, we get a little busy, but we argue a lot, and then we find ourselves all in the same place at the same time. I don't caucus with anyone, I just caucus with myself.
The independent caucus has to be
it's like herding cats sometimes.
Pretty tough to agree on anything, right?
Absolutely.
Speaking of herding cats, I was interested in your animal welfare issues.
Yes.
And what I learned also was you followed your dad into the state politics, the state legislature, and tie in that with the ALEC conference when you saw the Humane Society and the animals that showed up here.
Yeah, so my dad was in the General Assembly from 1973 to 1987. I was a House page when he was there when I was in high school, and I saw him in action, and it really inspired me. And so a life in politics just seemed like, you know, it's like anything else. Your dad's a football player, maybe you become a football player. My dad was a politician, I became a politician. It's just what it is. But more importantly, my dad was a renowned animal lover, and so much so that in my hometown of Woonsocket, Rhode Island, there's a brand new animal shelter, $35 million animal shelter, and they named it after my dad. And we had a big grand opening, a ribbon cutting. It was beautiful, and it really brought me to tears that day.
He's passed away?
He passed on July 31st, 2020. And so somehow, when I got back to the General Assembly, animal issues became my thing, one of the things I'm focusing on. So I came to an ALEC meeting, my first one back in 2024, and I walked up to the ASPCA table in the exhibit hall, and I said, "What are you guys working on? What's important to you?" And they said, "Veterinary telemedicine." Well, I'm proud to tell you that we got the veterinary telemedicine bill passed in Rhode Island. We had a signing the other day with the governor. The ASPCA was there. The Rhode Island SPCA was there. Rescue leagues were there. There were citizens there, and everyone brought their animals, and it was a wonderful thing. The only thing that wasn't great for me is my dog had got hit by a skunk the night before. So yeah, so I had to spend a lot of time giving him.
Is that a lot of tomato paste? What do you do? What do you do in that situation?
Peroxide, dishwashing soap, and baking soda. And so He's a one-eyed Shih Tzu. He's named after, my dad's name was Albert. His nickname was Albie. My one-eyed Shih Tzu was named Albie. I was looking for a three-legged.
You got to watch how you say that.
Yeah, well, I was looking for a three-legged dog. I couldn't find one, but we found the one-eyed Shih Tzu, and I said, that's the one.
Well, Jon Brien, I can tell why you are so successful as an independent legislator in Rhode Island, and we really appreciate you coming to the ALEC annual meetings. Here in 2026, the ALEC annual meeting is in Orlando, Florida, and thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
Take care.